Hi, I'm Amitis, and I'm here to talk to you about math. Well, not really. So when I was 8, I watched a show about Maria Mirzatlani, a female mathematician who made history in the world of math. But because of her gender, she experienced many hardships and she was excluded from many activities and was told not to become a mathematician by her colleagues, only because boys were said to be better at girls than that. Only because boys were said to be better at math than girls. For me, I thought this was truly unfair. Girls should not be discriminated because of their gender. As a result, I began researching this topic. Are boys really better at girls than math? I believe it depends on the individual and how hard they try. Well, you probably know what math is, right? It's a subject you learn in school that uses numbers, but there's more to it than that. Mathematics is a complex way to calculate using figures and forms expressed symbolically and used in many different subjects, including science, social studies, and even music and art. For example, in art, artists and mathematicians both use geometry in their work, including shapes, symmetry, and proportion and measurement. There are many types of math too. There's basic ones like addition and subtraction, but all types of math go into the main branches of mathematics, which are mainly foundations, arithmetic, algebra, geometry, trigonometry, calculus, probability and statistics, and number theory topology. Well, you might ask, what do mathematicians do? Mathematicians typically do the following: expand mathematical knowledge by developing new principles, recognize previously unknown principles, relationships between previously known mathematical principles, create models to resolve practical problems in fields such as business, government, engineering, and the sciences. Mathematicians are essential to analyze data and design accurate models in fields as diverse as biology and finance. Keith Devlin, Terence Tahlum Stewart, John Stilwell, Bruce C. Burnett, Timothy Growers, Peter Senark, Martin Hargreaves Durbridges, and Andrew Wiles are all modern mathematicians. In case you didn't notice, most, if not all of these people are male. In fact, of students who intended to major in mathematics, 60% were male, 40% were female. There are women that did the same thing as these people and are still not widely known. Also in mathematics, just 15% of tenure track positions are held by women, one of the lowest percentages among the sciences, along with computer science, 18%, and engineering, 14%. Women made gains from 8% of STEM workers in 1970 to 27 in 2019, but men still dominated the field. Men made up 52% of all U.S. workers, but 73% of all STEM workers. Now I'll give you a couple of mathematicians: Sophia Kovesia, Emmy Noether, and Ada Lovelace. Take a moment to think. How many of those people do you know? This seems unfair, but do gender and performance have nothing in common, or is this all for a reason? Well, to find out, you need to look at the scores of math tests. Within this specific group of higher performing math students, Within this specific group of higher performing math students, boys tend to outscore girls. Similarly, when studies do find gender differences among elementary school children, they find these start to appear for higher performing students earlier in schooling than they do for lower and average performing ones. In general, the average female score is 1210 and the average male score is 1255. According to this, boys score slightly better than girls. In fact, there was even criticism made against standardized tests that they may be biased because males typically outscore females. Now, is this because of how our brains develop as a male or female? An old myth maintains that boys are better at math and girls are better at verbal skills, but research shows no consecutive biological differences between men and women in math, so the idea of a male math brain is not true. So what are some stereotypes of females and males? Well, television programs are a central part of children's everyday lives. These programs often transmit expectations for how a girl is supposed to act compared to a boy. So what are some stereotypes of females and males? Well, television programs are a central central part of children's everyday lives. These programs often transmit stereotypes about gender roles, such as math is for boys and not for girls, or some expectation for how a girl is supposed to act compared to a boy. For example, the TV show The Big Bang Theory depicts typical American gender roles and stereotypical views of male and female behavior through the characters of Sheldon, Leonard, and Penny. However, it is unclear whether stereotypes that are embedded in television programs affect girls and boys' performance, motivational dispositions, or attitudes, although it is still discouraging to have someone or something be telling you this thing is not for you. Now, I know that nowadays people encourage everyone to be like do what they like, and there are no gender segregations anymore, but long ago and what we heard back then might affect how we think right now. So what is an example of a mathematician who faced inequality? Well, the award-winning film Hidden Figures tells the story of African-American mathematicians Mary Jackson, Kathleen Johnson, and Dorothy Balkin. These incredible women served as the human computers who calculated launch and orbit landing trajectories of astronaut John Glenn, who became the first American to orbit the moon. Who orbit the Earth in 1962. These women overcame institutional racism and sexism to become engineers, mathematicians, and computer programmers for NASA. Well, if you're a boy, you might be thinking that, well, boys are obviously better at girls in math, and although there are many important male mathematicians in the world, there are many female ones too, like Kathleen Johnson and Maria Mirzakhani. And here's a fun fact. In my class, the boys' average in math is 78% and the girls is 81%. But I'm not using this to say girls are better at math than boys. I'm using this to say boys aren't better at math than girls. Now, if you're a girl, I don't want you thinking that you're better at math than boys either, because you're not. It doesn't matter what gender you are. If one girl and one boy were randomly picked and it turned out the girl was better at math, it might be because the boys were better at something else or didn't try as hard. All I'm saying is that gender doesn't have anything to do with performance. So don't get the idea you're better at someone just because of your gender or because of how other people in the same gender or race perform. Teachers, here's how to make sure every child in your classroom is treated fairly and with respect through gender equity and equality. In the classroom, students often encounter assumptions about gender without them or you realizing. For example, girls interested in STEM subjects may be discouraged if others say such topics aren't for them. So what can you do? According to a report sponsored by the American Association of University Women, AAUW, girls receive significantly less attention from teachers than boys do. This is due to the fact that, in general, boys are more likely to call out answers to questions posed in class, even if they haven't been called on by the teacher. Over time, this can discourage female students from speaking up, even when they feel like they have something worthwhile to contribute to the discussion. So what can you do? Well, one thing you can do is alter the language within your lessons to help expand students' perspectives beyond gender stereotypes. For example, in assignments, you can challenge students' expectations by including a male construction worker or a female construction worker or soldier, a male secretary or worse, nurse, and other professions typically associated with a particular gender. So this is for everyone. If you notice your grades are going down, ask your parents to go to some additional math classes. I, for example, go to RSM, Russian School of Mathematics, which is an online math class you can take. Some other classes might be Zern, The Mathletes, Mathusiasm, Brain Builder, Alex, and Khan Academy. Now, if you don't want to go to a math class, you can play a game which involves math. Reflex is one that we do, and a lot of you play Prodigy. But maybe you just dislike math. This might be because of what you learn. For example, if you were in third grade and you dislike math because it's easy, but your teachers didn't teach you other kinds of math, you may never like math until you get to sixth grade. Or if you knew other kinds of math like complex numbers, but you didn't actually learn it until high school, you'll need to wait until high school until you learn it. I think girls should try out math-related activities because they might see they like it. Also, there are always math books you can read. And if you like a book or class, share it with other people and get involved. Here are some things that should be happening. Removing the gender pay gap, using skills-based assessments, having women mentor men, giving work-life balance a priority, giving girls the same access to education as boys, giving women platforms to be empowered and achieve economic success, giving assuring girls and women have access to menstrual health facilities. As you see, most of this has already been achieved here in Maryland, but in other places there may still be this problem. So what's the conclusion? Are boys better at girls than math? No, they're not. It really depends on the individual and how hard they try. As I said before, if all the girls in the world failed on purpose because they didn't care what their grades were, and all the boys in the world tried their hardest, then boys would obviously beat girls at math. Like Maryam Mirzakhani once said, I don't give up easily because of what other people think or say. I take my time to prove them wrong.